Hello, this is Larissa Patton, editor of Auto Finance News. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Using Behavioral Analytics to Bolster Performance. This is presented by the Center for Auto Finance Excellence, which is the industry resource for best practices and actionable advice for auto finance professionals. This is the third in our four-part 2016 series of webinars and is presented by the Center for Auto Finance Excellence through the support of Fiserv and DataScan. I would like to take a moment to thank Fiserv and DataScan for their generosity. We greatly appreciate it. The substance of this teleconference harkens to just some of what we do at the Center for Auto Finance Excellence. The center was launched in 2013 by Auto Finance News and Fiserv for the benefit of the auto finance community. The center shares its content through events like this and at autofinanceexcellence.org, which we encourage you to join. Our goal is to share unique content and insights on the practice of auto finance, furthering the overall management performance of the industry. Fresh articles are added to the site all the time. Some of the more recent delve into the subprime auto finance industry's realignment, 3 actions lenders can take to improve the compliance management system, and a 4-part video series on coping with regulatory exams. The information we cover today will also provide a taste of what you'll experience at the upcoming Auto Finance Summit, which will take place October 5th through the 7th in Las Vegas. You can visit autofinancesummit.com for more information and to register. We encourage you to share the link to this webinar on autofinanceexcellence.org with your colleagues. During this webinar, we're going to learn how lenders can best utilize data-driven analytics to manage risk and anticipate changes in the market, as well as best practices for analytics innovation. So let's get started. It is my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Jim Bander, Manager of Decision Science and Risk Management at Toyota Financial Services. I'm really pleased to turn this over to him. So Jim, take it away.
Thank you, Larissa. And I want to thank the Center for Auto Finance Excellence for having me today and Auto Finance News for inviting me to speak on this webinar. You know, I've been getting a lot of requests for comments lately. There's been some publicity about our pretty successful analytics project called Collections Treatment Optimization. That project was a big win for Toyota. It's contributing millions of dollars to our bottom line, and it has made us more efficient. And it was a big win for our customers. 1,700 more people are driving Toyota, Lexus, or Scion vehicles than if we had not done the project. In this webinar, I want to share 5 of the lessons we learned on that project. Since most analytics projects don't meet expectations, I hope sharing these lessons helps someone in the audience with an analytics project at your company. The word analytics gets tossed around a lot. Let me start by talking about what analytics is and what analytics is not. This is a fairly well-known chart from the SAS Institute that shows a hierarchy of analytics. On the bottom of the chart are the important foundational practices for managing data. I call these IT and business intelligence, or BI. This includes things like reporting, queries, even real-time alerts to let management know what's going on. You know, all of those things are important, but they're not analytics. If you could solve your problem with a database query or with a spreadsheet that does not use an analytical add-in such as Excel Solver, it's a problem that's outside the scope of what I'm discussing today. The top half of the hierarchy is analytics. That includes forecasting, predictive models, and optimization. You know, everyone in the auto finance industry is familiar with analytics because we all use credit risk scorecards for application scoring, and we all use data to build loss forecasts, for example, for determining our allowance for credit losses. Some of us are using newer applications: fraud detection, response models in marketing, churn prediction, sentiment analysis, web analytics, maybe speech analytics. And as consumers, we're all familiar with recommender systems. When we use Amazon or Netflix, the computer suggests what we might order next based on past orders and based on what other customers like us have ordered in the past. Analytics has gotten a lot of attention for the last 10 years, but it's mostly a set of scientific practices like data analysis, statistics, and operations research that have been around since at least World War II. It's just that we all have so much more data now and so many more available computer systems that it's an idea whose time has come. I think a lot of the focus on analytics started when Tom Davenport and Jeannie Harris published their Harvard Business Review article called Competing on Analytics, and then they wrote a book with the same title. Then in their second book with Bob Morrison, they describe these 7 benefits that analytical competitors reap. All of them boil down to the same thing: better decision-making. Our companies make better strategic, tactical, and operational decisions when we take advantage of data. We can make better decisions that lead us to create more value for our customers and more earnings for our companies. All of us lenders know analytics is an important topic. I just saw a TransUnion survey a couple of weeks ago. It said that nearly 3 out of 4 lenders report that their lack of analytics capabilities affect their ability to compete in the marketplace. Of those who are strong in analytics, 86% said they're seeing tangible value, tangible results. 4 out of 5 lenders thought that better analytics would make their organization more competitive. Despite all these benefits, launching an analytics project is a risk. It's risky for a company. Most analytics projects do not achieve their goals, or they finish late, or they finish over budget. In fact, when I've talked to leaders about analytics, I hear them say things like fail fast, fail often, fail small. There are a number of theories about why analytics projects fail. Gartner says one of the most common failures is setting overly optimistic expectations before a skilled team is in place to deliver on them. CMO magazine points to a lack of leadership focus, over-analysis when projects fail to proceed iteratively, and under-delivery, and overemphasis on analysis, not enough emphasis on execution. Todd Newcomb, over at Government Technology, says problems can be caused by over-reliance on the IT department rather than the stakeholders to deliver analytics. He also points to inferior data and a talent shortage. So taking on an analytics project can be a risk, but with the potential for big reward. We all want some parts of our business to be more entrepreneurial. We want the business to take risks. But, and this is key, if you're going to launch some innovative projects with a high probability of failure, think like a venture capitalist. Build a portfolio. Make sure there will be some projects with large measurable benefits when they succeed. And those benefits need to exceed the costs of any projects that fail. That brings me to the first of the 5 best practices I want to share today. Set clear business goals and boundaries. For example, when we started the 3rd phase of our collections treatment optimization project, I made a flyer for new team members. Above the project roadmap, I listed 3 project goals. Use data to choose the right collections treatment for the right customers in order to 1, minimize credit losses, 2, control operating expenses by aligning resource plans with forecasts and best practices, and 3, maximize market share by improving collections effectiveness to support a wider spread of purchases. The project leadership team made sure every project participant was expected to know the goals. More importantly, the goals helped us establish boundaries. At several points during the project, people came to the leadership team or the steering committee and proposed a scope change. For example, should we expand the scope to use the collections treatment optimization project as a way to determine the best use of staff augmentation and overtime in collections? That's a worthwhile goal. It might have even controlled operating expenses, but it didn't pass the test of using data to choose the right collections treatment for the right customers. It would have helped us achieve one of our 3 goals, but not in a way that fit with the rest of the project. So it was postponed, and so were a lot of other potentially good ideas. We maintained our focus, and ultimately we achieved the goals we'd written down within the boundaries we'd set. The second lesson we learned is to put the right people on the team. At Toyota, we try really hard to get this right the first time. We have governance practices that call for an interdepartmental steering committee for bigger important projects. We have a culture of consensus. We have a practice that's called nimawashi in Japanese. It requires people to obtain buy-in from a wide variety of leaders before a decision is made. For the collections treatment optimization project, which was led by our risk management team, We included a lot of people from the collections and servicing teams, especially a group called debt management. There were many people from IT and one guy from business intelligence. People from the legal and vendor management organizations pitched in when they were needed. We really prided ourselves on collaboration, engagement, and breaking down boundaries. We hired an analytics consultant, a data vendor, a strategic partner to do computer programming, and another strategic partner to do predictive modeling. Altogether, we used 4 outside companies to help us succeed. But we still didn't get it right. I remember a time when the project just seemed to grind to a halt. The IT department had pulled a lot of credit and historical data. They segmented it for us, and our predictive modelers were trying to make sense of it in conjunction with our analytics consultant. Months went by, and I wasn't seeing results. Every time I asked the team how the model was coming, I got the same answer. We're almost there, Jim. Finally, I convened a team of technical experts to look at the progress and see why it was taking too long. As soon as we added a couple of statisticians to the team, they recognized within a couple of days what was wrong. There was too much noise in the data, in the way it had been segmented. Statisticians are especially good at separating signal from noise, but no amount of predictive modeling effort would have been successful in finding the signal the way the data had been segmented. Our statisticians quickly resegmented the data, and the modelers got back to work, and they were able to succeed. I wish I had put a statistician on the bus a lot sooner. But I'm really glad I got to work with such a great team of talented people. It was an interdisciplinary team with the expertise we needed to solve our collections problem. The third best practice is to respect the corporate culture. For an analytics system to succeed, it has to fit the corporate culture. Some people from data disciplines might underestimate the importance of culture on analytics systems. If the purpose of an analytics system was only to report on past data, it might not be so important to understand the culture. But remember, analytics is there to support decision-making, and decisions are made in the context of the company and its norms. Every place I've worked has had a distinctive corporate culture. I've had a lot of different careers. I've spent time on a Navy base, at a university, with a large railroad, at a big bank, and at a software startup. Each one had very different spoken and unspoken rules for how to get things done and how to make choices. I don't believe there's a right or wrong corporate culture, but I do know the culture of effective organizations is reflected in its values and its actions. Up at Harvard Business School, James Heskett cites research that culture can account for up to half of the difference in performance between two companies in the same business. Toyota is famous for our distinctive culture. Entire books have been written on the subject. We spend time at Toyota Financial Services talking about our brand values, things like customer focus, unity of purpose. My team knew that any new system had better fit with those values. One key value at Toyota is continuous improvement, Kaizen in Japanese. We knew that our collections treatment optimization system could not be a big bang, a radical change. Rather, it had to build on what works. Now, each quarter when we re-optimize, we take into account the current business environment, and we do things even better than before. Lexus talks about the pursuit of perfection. Toyota talks about always better cars. We designed an analytics system that would never produce one best strategy. It would keep improving. We also knew that our managers would dig into the details, so the forecasts we feed into the system are proven and transparent. The system is visual, so it's easy for managers and analysts to understand the implications of their decisions. And we're constantly testing. We test the system against reality. We know that the models embedded in the analytics are only models, no substitute for human judgment. George Box, the statistician, said, "All models are wrong, some models are useful." Going back to culture, It's not just the entire corporation that has a culture. Subgroups do too. Our servicing department talks a lot about providing always better service to the customer. We had to include over 45 people from our IT department called Business Technology Solutions, or BTS. BTS has its own corporate culture, so we had to follow the rules that work well there. This includes the IT governance team driven by their program management office. We also had to respect that the IT delivery teams, who had the responsibility for the analytics application software, were going to be separate from the Chief Technical Officer's team, which was responsible for infrastructure. You know, not long ago I asked our division information officer what he thought made the collections treatment optimization project successful from his IT point of view. What lesson had he learned about implementing analytics systems? Dave thought hard, and he said, honestly, Jim, we just did what we always do. And I said, that's a lesson in itself, Dave. Even when implementing an innovation, keep doing what works well. So what we've learned is to embrace and respect the corporate culture when implementing an analytics project. The fourth best practice I want to discuss today is to focus on the decisions you will be making with the analytics. Are they strategic decisions, operational decisions, tactical decisions? And who is the decision maker? Will the computer have the final say over the decision? Or is the computer making a recommendation for a human decision maker who will consider outside information and experience in making a wise decision? I talked before about Davenport and Harris. In their book, they classified three types of decisions: automated, automated with overrides, and assisted decisions. Automated decisions bring speed and consistency, and that's important in a regulatory environment like ours. Automated decisions with overrides leverage your people's expertise. Computer-assisted decisions require expertise and collaboration. I've found that 60% of the effort on an analytics project involves things like cleaning, scrubbing, and understanding data. Much of the time is spent on finding, correcting, loading, analyzing, defining, and sharing the right data. We lean heavily on our BI team for high-quality data definitions, data lineage, formats, and usage. But you know, that's a trap too. It's too easy to fall into the trap of diving right into the data aspects or the computer aspects of the problem before we've asked and specified and written down what decisions will be made by the analytics system. The decisions should be the driving force behind the project. For example, I told you in our collections treatment optimization project, the goal was to use data to choose the right collections treatment for the right customers in order to accomplish three things. The decisions were the collections treatments for each customer. Data that didn't help choose the right collections treatment were extraneous data. And it became clear that the most important data we needed were a history of which collections treatments had been applied to each customer in the past and how those customers responded to the treatments. In an optimization project like this one, there are actual variables known as decision variables. So the very nature of the model forced us to identify the decisions we were making. But even in a forecasting project, make it clear what the forecast will be used for. Write down a mission statement. I'm forecasting a year's worth of losses so that our company can provision for credit loss. In a predictive modeling project, state the purpose. I'm estimating the probability of default for an individual segment of accounts so that the company can allocate economic capital. Only after we decided what decisions were needed did we begin asking what data we needed to support the decision and what information technology we would need. In summary, focus on the decisions. Let the decisions dictate the data and technology. The fifth and final best practice I want to share today is to measure the benefits with data. I like to use champion-challenger testing, where we run a portion of the portfolio the old way, without the benefit of the new analytics, and a portion with the new analytics. Then we develop a comparison report showing the benefits, and they grow over time. That's going to make things easier when the finance department asks me whether or not the project paid for itself. You know, on this slide, I've put a couple of apparently contradictory quotes. Dr. Deming may have said that you can manage things without measuring them. But he also said, and this is my favorite Deming quote, "In God we trust, all others bring data." I think it's important to plan from the beginning how we will collect the data to prove our benefits. For example, going back to the collections treatment optimization project, we built the Champion Challenger design in from the beginning. Remember, we had 3 goals. 1, the first goal was to minimize credit losses. Collections treatment optimization was a 3-phase project. The Champion Challenger test showed that TFS prevented millions of dollars in losses annually when we were using the second phase, CTO phase 2, compared to how we were doing before we had predictive analytics. Then we were able to show that we saved millions more when we implemented prescriptive analytics or mathematical optimization in phase 3 compared to what we were achieving in phase 2. Even more important was the benefit to our customers. The testing showed that 1,700 customers stayed in their Toyota, Lexus, or Scion vehicles who we might have otherwise been forced to repossess. Furthermore, over 10,000 customers paid in time to prevent getting a 30-day or a 60-day credit marker on their bureau report, so their credit scores weren't impacted. We're very proud that analytics helped us achieve a win-win, a win for the company and a win for our customers. The second goal we established was to control operating expenses. Toyota Financial Services portfolio grew 9%, and we were able to add only minimal collections headcount. Third was to better support our dealers by buying a wider spread of business. We've got the portfolio metrics to show that the company has been able to do that. One experience I highly recommend was very humbling. We conducted a pair of formal post-mortem meetings to capture lessons learned. We didn't put nearly as much time into celebrating our success as we did to asking how we should have done it better. We captured the good, the bad, and the ugly about our analytics project, and we can pass along advice to the next project in the spirit of Kaizen, or continuous improvement. In conclusion, measuring the benefits helps us maintain our focus as a learning organization. Larissa, I hope these 5 best practices will be helpful to at least some of your readers who are involved in or who are contemplating an analytics project.
Great, Jim. Thank you so much. I hope it'll be helpful for our listeners, too, and thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. I thought I'd follow up your presentation with a few questions, if that's all right.
That's great.
Great. So you gave us some really great tips on successfully integrating an analytics program, but what are some of the more common mistakes you've seen companies make when implementing a similar program? What are some of the pitfalls to avoid?
Well, I'm really optimistic about analytics, but there's a bunch of reasons why analytics projects could fail. I touched on a few of them in the talk, but I'd say without a business use case, the choice of software could be vague, the project could be directionless, and the criteria for success could be poorly defined. There's a lady named Paige Roberts at SyncSort. She says expectations might be unclear or unreasonable, and there might be a failure to find people with skills for extensive programming, design, and integration requirements. Finally, every company has corporate politics, and corporate politics can cause people to take their eyes off the ball over time.
Great. So after a company implements an analytics program, what kind of timeline should one expect to start seeing results? And does that vary depending on what part of the process that program is applied to? For example, decisioning versus collections.
Well, analytics has to prove itself. We're all excited about it, but we're all worried that it's not going to produce the results. So for a first analytics project, choose an area where there's low-hanging fruit, get results within a year, and let the project pay for itself. then take on something more ambitious. Our third phase of our collections treatment project took 3 years. So, people had some patience because it had already been proven.
So if the industry starts to see a combination of a slowdown in auto sales with increased competition, can a lender use an analytics program to gain market share, and if so, how?
I think market share is going to be one of key benefits. I think people are getting more sophisticated about pricing. People are getting more sophisticated about risk management to be able to buy what they can collect. And we're able to provide more attractive offers. Our ultimate goal at TFS is to provide pre-sale service to the dealers. The dealers are one of the most important sets of customers. And if we can provide a better dealer experience, we're going to be able to gain market share.
Great. In what other ways can data-driven analytics improve a lender's overall business structure or other aspects of risk management?
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Sure. In what other ways, we talked a lot about collections, but in what other ways can data-driven analytics improve a lender's overall business structure?
Sure. I think there's going to be better credit scoring, better pricing, better estimation of default probabilities, better forecasting of attrition and prepayment, better management of economic and regulatory capital, and I hope improved customer and dealer satisfaction and loyalty.
Great. So I did want to focus on collections for a moment. It's an area where lenders are constantly looking to improve results, so I wanted to get your thoughts on that part of the process specifically.
Good.
TFS first got concerned with improving collections post-recession in 2009, and I just wanted to get your thoughts on why you decided to focus on data analytics and why it's important for other lenders to take a look at that.
Sure. I think right after the recession, we were forced to take on an even more focus on the customer than we had before. Our customers found themselves in trouble. Their mortgages were underwater, and they were having trouble paying their bills. They needed our help in ways our existing management infrastructure couldn't support. For the first time in the recession, we had over 100,000 customers a day in collections. And treating every customer the same way just wasn't right. We needed to free up our people to provide the best customer service to the people who most needed it. So it was really a win-win. It was to provide improved customer service to the customers and to avoid losses in a tough economic time for Toyota.
So you've discussed your TFS's specific call model with us before, and that utilizes data analytics to determine when and how best to reach out to a consumer to improve the collection process. Why should lenders implement a similar model, and what were some of the drawbacks to your previous approach to missed payments?
Well, remember I talked about corporate culture. I'm not sure that our way of doing things fits everywhere. It may not be the best approach for every lender, but it fit within the Toyota way. We don't have any more a one-size-fits-all approach. We have a personalized, effective collections treatment for every customer, every day. We felt our old way was keeping the customer service reps from working on the most value-added accounts.
Mm-hmm. Great. So you also previously shared with us that as of March, TFS had kept 10,000 customers from reverting to higher stages of delinquency by utilizing the analytics-based collection program. Are you still seeing improvements in delinquencies due to that program, and can you kind of give us an update on the numbers?
Well, I'm not ready to release any new numbers, but the numbers continue to grow. We implemented this using a champion-challenger approach where only a portion of our portfolio got treated with the system while we were getting that 10,000 number. Now we've got more confidence, and we've doubled the percentage of customers that are getting the treatment every month, and we're seeing improvements in delinquency, and we're able to help more customers.
Great. Thank you so much. And I just, my last question is, you've really shared some great advice on implementing analytics, but what tips do you have, or what's important for lenders that are maybe past the implementation point that they should keep in mind to avoid that fail fast, fail small mentality?
I think if they've already had a success, if they've already implemented a system, then learning from that success and making the next project even more successful is a key. You remember the continuous improvement philosophy, where we take the lessons learned from one project and we do even better the next time around.
Great. Great. Well, Jim, I want to thank you once again for participating in today's webinar. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you.
And for our listeners, to hear more on topics like this, join us at the upcoming Auto Finance Summit, which will take place October 5th through the 7th in Las Vegas. Once again, you can visit autofinancesummit.com for more information and to register. Thank you again, Jim.
You're welcome. Thank you.